let's talk about demand, customer demand, and how that impacts inventory or inventory control. In this video, I will talk about demand planning or explain what demand planning is. And I will also give you 4 types of demand that typically impact inventory. So first, what is demand? Demand is simply how much customers are asking for of your specific product. And to determine that, companies use what we call demand planning. And demand planning is simply the process of estimating how much of a good or service customers will buy from you. So when it comes to inventory, the reason demand planning is important is because it is really a key driver to how much inventory a company should own. So when it comes to inventory control, that is typically driven by demand. Inventory control is the process of simply ensuring that your company has enough to meet your customers' need. And remember, one of the goals of inventory is to always avoid a stock out. You don't want to run out of inventory. So when we are managing inventory, we really have to consider demand. And there are a few types or 4 types of demand that I want to discuss. First, peak demand. Peak demand is usually controlled by the organization. This is when we expect a peak in demand because we're running a sale or promotion. Companies typically plan these at different times of the year. So they would then increase production for that purpose. If they know they're running a 40% off sale for their products and that more people are going to purchase during that time, they will then plan around that peak demand in which they have control. And then we have seasonal demand, not to be confused with peak demand. Seasonal demand is just that, it's seasonal, specific to a specific season throughout the year. The holiday season is the perfect example. Most companies plan for Black Friday. They ramp up their inventory, especially if they know they're going to have great deals, or even specific holidays, Halloween, 4th of July. Certain companies that sell certain products usually see a spike in demand, and other companies see quite the opposite. Their sales decline during specific seasons because they don't sell products relative to that season. It's like coffee and ice cream. They have an inverse relationship from a seasonality perspective. Ice cream sales peak during the summer months. Coffee sales decline in the summer months. Wintertime, coffee sales go up, ice cream sales go down. So seasonal demand is another driver that companies use to control inventory. Now, the next one is most challenging, and that's unexpected demand. This is outside of the company's control. The 2020 pandemic is the perfect example, where because of the pandemic, there was a request for face masks, and no one produced face masks in a large enough scale to where they could supply enough to meet demand, because this was unexpected demand, and it caused a disruption in business and supply chain function. So unexpected demand, although can be a good thing for some companies, because when you get that influx of demand, especially in a situation like the pandemic, customers are going to wait. Other times when there's unexpected demand and your company cannot supply in a timely fashion, customers will go to a competitor. However, when there's unexpected demand, it can be a good thing because it's increased sales for a company, but it can also be challenging if that company don't have the resources or bandwidth to produce at such a large scale. And then lastly, we have what we call chase demand. So chase demand is very unique. You literally chase demand. When demand is up, you increase production, and when demand is down, you reduce production. So perfect example is the service industry. When we look at restaurants, quite often in the restaurant, in a restaurant situation, when there's busy times, Friday, Saturday night, or Sunday, there increase in the number of employees that are working in that restaurant, because as consumers, we tend to eat out more on the weekends. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, not as many people are on staff, so they are chasing demand. When demand is low, we plan for it. When demand is high, we plan for that as well. They vary the workforce, right? So when you increase or have employees work overtime because you know demand is high, then that would be chasing demand. And then when you send employees home early, you'll say, hey, take a couple of days off because the demand just isn't there. It's also chase demand. So key takeaways from this video. Remember that demand planning is a way that companies estimate how much you and I as consumers will buy from them. And that impacts how we plan for inventory because we use different types of demand. That includes peak demand, which is a spike up in demand, seasonal demand, which is relative to a specific season, unexpected demand, which again, one of the toughest demands to try to deal with because it's unexpected, and then chase demand, where we vary the workforce to try to meet demand regardless of the situation. If it's high, we plan for it. If it's low, we plan for it as well.